Almost a year and a half after Taxstone was sentenced to decades in prison, his legal issues still on and over. On Monday, November 4th, the podcaster got another 9.5 years added to this total time behind bars. Sort of. Let's break it down. Last year, Tax was convicted of manslaughter, assault, and weapons possession. All those charges stem from a deadly shooting at Irving Plaza in 2016 that left one person dead and 3 wounded. It happened at a TI concert where Troy Ave was scheduled to perform.
Those witnesses describe it as mayhem inside. Meanwhile, crime scene investigators have been out here all night. They have been inside of this concert venue, Irving Plaza, collecting evidence. 1,200 people were packed inside, waiting for rapper TI to come on the stage when those shots were fired. Panicked concert goers running for cover. Cell phone video capturing the hundreds of people trying to get out, fearing for their lives.
It was a stampede. It was a stampede. Everybody was trying to save themselves.
Screaming, people was just pushing, pulling, grabbing, using people as shields, everything. That's how crazy it was.
The chaos unfolding around 10:15 Wednesday night inside the Irving Plaza concert venue. Investigators say fans were waiting for rapper TI to perform when gunfire erupted in a third-floor green room area as opening acts Mano and Uncle Murder were on stage.
When he was about to go on, we saw like 2 people up on the VIP arguing, and then everybody started running because they heard the shot.
3 men in their early 30s and a woman in her 20s were struck in the gunfire, according to police. One of the men shot in the stomach died from his injuries.
Detectives are still interviewing potential witnesses, canvassing for video, and looking for cameras in the area that could help us identify people that were there that witnessed this scene.
Investigators say there was a security check and a metal detector at the venue, but some at the concert say security was lax.
It was easy that anyone could have gone into there with a bit of peace.
We're looking into that. That's going to be a part of the investigation.
Now back live here at Irving Plaza, that concert venue, they have released a statement saying that the safety of their guests is of utmost importance, but they were referring all questions to the police as this investigation continues. Now, as for the victims, in addition to that one man who was killed, another man who was shot in the chest, he is in critical condition this morning. The other 2 victims, they were shot in their legs. Both of them are stable.
Tensions between Taxstone and Troy had been growing for a while. Tax had been taking shots at Troy Ave on his show. Here's how prosecutors put it. Remember that Campbell here means Taxstone, whose real name is Daryl Campbell. And when they say individual 1, that's Troy Ave. Quote, Campbell had on multiple occasions insulted an individual in the music industry, individual 1, by stating, among other things, that individual 1's music is of a poor quality, that individual 1 is a cowardly and unwilling to use violence, and that individual 1 attempted to manufacture a reputation for both musical and criminal accomplishments that was inflated or false. So when Taxstone and Troy Ave crossed paths backstage at the concert, things got heated. When it was all over, Troy's friend and bodyguard, Ronald Bangin' McFadder, was dead. Troy Ave was shot in both his legs, and 2 bystanders had been hit. Taxstone was arrested and put on trial. If you want to find out what happened at the trial, we've got tons of videos about it. But the main thing to remember is that Tax was convicted of killing McFadder and shooting the 3 other people. A few months after he was found guilty, Taxstone was sentenced to 35 years in prison. But that wasn't the end of the story. The case that put Tax away for 3.5 decades was brought by the state of New York. But there was also separate federal charges against him for having the gun that was used in the shooting. That might seem a little strange. Isn't it illegal to be charged twice for the same crime? Well, that's not exactly what this was. Tax's charges in the state case were, like I said, manslaughter, assault, and weapons possession. But the federal charges were a little different. The first count was for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Sure enough, way back in 2008, Tax pleaded guilty to attempted robbery in the 2nd degree in a Brooklyn court. That meant he had a felony conviction and Federal law says a felon can't own a gun. So the fact that on the night of the shooting they found a gun with Tax's DNA on it and traced that gun from his original owner in Florida directly to a friend of Tax's was pretty damning. The second federal charge also related to that gun. It was a receipt of a firearm in interstate commerce. That basically meant that Tax got a gun that had moved from one state to another. It also meant that he had, quote, knowledge and reasonable cause to believe that a crime was going to be committed using that gun. Tax pleaded guilty to those charges in June of 2017. But sentencing had to wait until the state case played out, and that took almost 6 years. So now that the state case is done, sentencing on the federal charges finally happened on Monday. Tax got 115 months, or about 9.5 years. But here's the thing, that's exactly what he was asking for. In a memo to the judge, Tax's lawyer Kenneth Montgomery requested that the judge sentence Tax to between 92 and 115 months on the federal gun charges. Why would he do that? Well, federal crimes come with what's called a guideline range, basically a recommended sentence. The judge doesn't have to abide by it, but they'll always take it into account. They usually have to justify going above or below it. Montgomery and the government both agree that Tax's guideline range was between 92 and 115 months, and the feds agreed with Montgomery. A sentence in the guideline range was exactly what they wanted. But there's one more aspect to this. Both sides agreed not only on the length of the sentence, but on another important part of it as well. They both wanted it to run concurrent to the state sentence. What does that mean? It means that any time Tax serves in prison also counts towards his federal time. And since he's already been in jail for years and will remain there many more, the federal sentence is just academic. It doesn't have any real effect. And in fact, by now, he's already served almost all of his Fed time. So what's left for Taxstone? An appeal. Kenneth Montgomery told us that Tax's state case, the one that has him in prison for decades, is being appealed. But Montgomery's not involved, so he couldn't give us any specifics. No other details about the appeal were immediately available. There you have it. Taxstone, already serving decades of time in prison, did get additional prison time this week. But in the end, does it really count?